Chapter 3.2, use parallel lines and transversals. All right, I'm going to give you these in the notes. Okay, this is for corresponding angles. If two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, let's look at the diagram. Okay, so we have two parallel lines here. How do we know they're parallel? Because of this little red triangle right here and right here. That indicates that these lines are parallel. So we know that line P is parallel to line Q. Okay, line T right here is the transversal. That's the line that's cutting the two parallel lines. And corresponding angles, you can see that angle 2 and angle 6 are both in the top right. Like if you look at these four angles here and these four angles here, 2 and 6 are both in the same position. That makes them corresponding. Therefore, angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. Okay, example 1, the measure of 3 of the numbered angles is 120 degrees. Identify the angles, explain your reasoning. Let's take a look. All right, so this angle right here is 120 degrees. Please see if you can tell me the other 3 angles that equal 120 and why that is true. I'll give you a hint. Use corresponding and vertical angles, please. Okay, out of these 4 right here, the 120 is on the top left. So if we go to the other group of 4 angles, angle 5 is also on the top left. So we know that the measure of angle 5 equals 120 degrees. Okay, and that is because they are corresponding. So we got the first one out of the way. Okay. So in place of angle 5, I'm going to fill in 120. All right, in place of angle 5, I wrote 120. And now is the time we look for the vertical angles. Okay, you just want to look for the X shape. We don't have to worry about parallel this or that. Okay, there's an X shape right here. And there's also another X shape. Maybe I should do it in a different color. Okay, there's also another X shape right here. So if you recall, the angles across from each other are vertical angles. All right, so if this one here is 120, angle 4 is going to be 120. Okay, the measure of angle 4, measure of angle 4 equals 120. And on the other X, if this is 120, then this one is 120. So the measure of angle 8 also equals 120. And in both cases, we determined them because they were vertical angles. So right here and right here. All right, this will also be in the notes, alternate interior angles. If 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the pairs of alternate interior angles are congruent. Let's check the diagram. So once again, these 2 red triangles indicate that the lines are parallel. So we know that P is parallel to Q. All right, and the transversal cutting through them is this line here. That's line T. Okay, remember, interior means it is in between the 2 lines that are being cut. So interior is the part in between. Okay, and alternate means one angle is on the right and the other angle is on the left. Remember, they can't be adjacent. They can't be next to each other. So 4 and 5 are alternate interior angles. All right, I'll just write that here. Alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles, as long as the lines are parallel, alternate interior angles are congruent. Now, the exact same thing holds true for alternate exterior angles. If the two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate exterior angles are congruent. So again, P and Q are parallel. Exterior means it's not in between the parallel lines. So up here and down here is the exterior. It's the part that's not in between the parallel lines. And alternate means that one angle is on the left and the other angle is on the right. Okay, they cannot be adjacent or next to each other. So these are alternate, I'll just abbreviate, alternate exterior. Okay, and alternate exterior angles are congruent. Finally, the last one, this will also be in the notes, consecutive interior angles. If the two parallel lines cut a transversal, consecutive interior angles are supplementary. Okay, that means they add to 180 degrees. So let's see the diagram. Okay, again, P is parallel to Q. This is our transversal T. Okay, and in case you forgot, what consecutive is basically equivalent to same side. Okay, consecutive is basically same side, not alternate, but same side. Okay, so we said consecutive interior. All right, so consecutive is same side, interior is in between the two lines. All right, so that's what we have here with angles 3 and 5. So this is, they're both on the left side, so this is angle 3, and this one here is angle 5. Okay, and when you add them together, they're supplementary. So that means that the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 5 equals 180 degrees. Okay, so you add them together and they make 180 degrees. So I'll show you something real quick. For some reason, and this is in all the geometry books, they don't do one for exterior, same side exterior angles. All right, but it's actually very easy. If you look for the X shape right here, and then also the X shape down here as well. Maybe I should do the second one in a different color. Okay, I'll do the other one in pink. So this right here is the other X shape. Okay, you have vertical angles. So I'm going to mark those. Okay. They call this angle 3. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to call this angle 3 as well. You're not really supposed to do that, but these are across from each other, so I know they're the same measurement. This one's angle 5. So this one is also going to be angle 5, okay, because they are vertical angles. And now, if I erase these x's, if I erase both x's, if you look at 3 and 5, we now have, not alternate, we have consecutive, which means same side. We have consecutive exterior angles, okay? Remember, exterior is outside the parallel lines. 3 is on the right, and 5 is on the right. So once again, they are going to be supplementary. Okay, so just like when they were interior, consecutive or same side exterior are also supplementary. Okay, I'm going to show you the notes I made, but just remember this: same side interior, or you can do same side exterior. They're going to add to 180. All right, so a summary so far. Two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles, alternate interior and alternate exterior are all congruent. Okay, that just means the angles are the same measurement. And now for the supplementary ones, two parallel lines cut by a transversal, consecutive or same side interior, consecutive or same side exterior are supplementary. So these three are congruent and these two are supplementary. The way I remember is that corresponding begins with a C, so corresponding and congruent both begin with a C. Same side begins with S's and supplementary begins with an S. So same side supplementary, corresponding congruent. That's how I remember it. And just remember the other two are also congruent. All right, example 2, find the value of X. Let's take a look. All right, so they gave us one angle, one missing, and one algebra expression. Okay, so why don't you solve for angle 4 right here using vertical angles first? All right, for the vertical angles, we can clearly see the X shape right there. Okay, angle 4 and the 115 degrees are across from each other, so we know that angle 4 is 115 degrees. All right, so we know that angle 4 is 115 degrees because they are vertical. And now we see that angle 4 and this angle right here, the X plus 5, are same side or consecutive interior. So we know that these two are supplementary. We know that they add to 180. So please add these two and set them equal to 180 and solve for X. All right, consecutive or same side interior are supplementary. All right, we said that angle 4 was basically just 115 degrees. So I'm going to add these two and set them equal to 180. All right, I'll do that on the bottom here. So the measure of angle 4 plus X plus 5 equals 180. All right, we established previously that was a vertical angle, so we know that the measure of angle 4 is just 115 plus X plus 5 equals 180. Okay, you could have done this in one step. I just wanted to write out the equation for you. Combining the like terms, 115 plus 5 is 120. And we still have plus X equals 180. Okay, and clearly some of you can do this in your head if you just subtract 120 on both. The 120s cancel. All right, you bring down the X, and of course 180 minus 120 is 60. All right, so they just asked us to solve for X. If you wanted to check and you plugged in the 60 right there in place of X, you would get 60 plus 5, which is 65. Okay, and then of course, if you added the 115 and the 65 to combined, of course, they would just be 180, which is the definition of supplementary. Okay, let's try guided practice. Measure of angle 1 is 105, and they want you to find angles 4, 5, and 8. Let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to replace angle 1 with 105 degrees. All right, I just wrote it here. Measure of angle 1 is 105, and they want you to find angles 4, 5, and 8. Okay, it's not that bad. Use corresponding, use straight angles, use vertical angles, whatever you have to use. All right, we said angle 1 was 105. All right, and by the vertical angles, we can see the X shape right here. So angle 4 is also going to be 105. Okay, that is because they are vertical angles. So the measure of angle 4 is 105, and that's because of vertical. All right. And let's see, they also wanted us to find 8. If you look at these 4 angles, angle 4 is on the bottom right. If you look at these 4 angles, angle 8 is on the bottom right. Okay, so the measure of angle 8 is also going to be 105. And that is because they're in the same position. They're both on the bottom right. So that's called corresponding. And finally, they asked for angle 5. Okay, but we have angle 8 is 105, so that's actually easy now. Okay, if angle 8 is going to be 105, and we have the X shape right here, the angle across from angle 8 is vertical. That's also going to match. So the measure of angle 5 is also going to be 105 because they are vertical. The other way to do it is to say that is corresponding to this one right here. This one is on the top left, and this one is on the top left. So also we could have said corresponding. But anyhow, 4, 5, and 8 are all 105 degrees. All right, same diagram, part 2. Measure of angle 3 is 68. Measure of angle 8 is 2x plus 4. And they want us to find the value of x. Okay, I'm going to label it. Angle 3 is 68. Angle 8 is 2x plus 4. All right, so here's 3. And that's going to be 68. And here's 8. That's going to be 2x plus 4. And just looking at these, this line going left to right is your transversal, that's T. And it looks like they are both on the exterior and they are both on the same side of T. Okay, so these are consecutive exterior. Okay, consecutive means same side, and we know that same side are supplementary. All right, that just means they add to 180. So why don't you take this angle and this angle, add them up and set them equal to 180, please. Okay, so this one here is 68. And this one here is 2x plus 4. And combined, they equal 180. Okay, like terms, 68 plus 4 is 72. And we still have 2x. And that equals 180. Okay, I'm going to do a minus 72 on both. And bring down the 2x. 180 minus 72, that's going to be 108. And dividing both sides by 2, 108 over 2 is just 54. So that is the value for x. Okay, they only asked for x. If you wanted to check, you can plug in 54 and you'd have 2 times 54 plus 4. Okay, and that would be 108 plus 4, which is just 112. Okay, and then if you said 112 plus 68, you would get 180. So that's exactly what we wanted. Okay, but they only asked for X. They didn't ask for the actual angle. All right, last one, example 4. When sunlight enters a drop of rain, different colors of light leave the drop at different angles. This process is what makes a rainbow. For violet light, the measure of angle 2 is 40. What is the measure of angle 1? Let's see. Okay, so here's the diagram. They said that the measure of angle 2 equals 40 degrees. And see if you can figure out the measure of angle 1, please. So on this diagram, we have the parallel lines. You see the little triangles here. So this line here in purple, I'm going to extend it a little bit. This line here in purple is the one that's cutting through the parallel line. So that's your transversal T. Okay. We can see 2. 2 is on the right. And angle 1 is on the left. Okay, of the transversal T. But anyhow, if you look at the parallel lines, both 2 and 1 are inside of those parallel lines. Okay, so since they are inside, they are interior. All right, so I'm going to write interior. And since 1 is on the right and 1 is on the left, they are alternate. Okay, and alternate interior angles, we know that they are congruent. Okay, so really, the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 1. Okay, but we already said the measure of angle 2 is 40. So the measure of angle 1 is also going to be just 40 degrees. And that is because they are alternate interior angles, and also the lines are parallel. Okay, one thing I also want you to notice is with the parallel lines in the transversal, they actually make a Z shape. Okay, and the angles inside the Z are going to be congruent. So I'm going to add that to the notes real quick. So if you were to draw a Z shape and make those lines on the top and bottom parallel, and then a backward Z, make those lines on the top and bottom parallel, the lines inside the Z would be congruent. Okay? And by the way, this also works for an N shape. Okay, so if I make the letter N, with parallel lines, or if I make a backwards N, like that, okay, backwards N with parallel lines, it is still the same principle. Okay, the ones inside, this angle here, and this angle here, this angle right here, and this angle right here are congruent. Okay, so these are examples of alternate, let me see. These are alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles can be easy to find when you look for the angles inside the Z or the N, and we know that alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, so it works when the Z is frontwards or backwards, when the N is frontwards or backwards, as long as the lines are parallel.